And welcome back to this edition of the MDM podcast. I'm Joe Morales, and today I'm joined by Jonah from Twitter. That's what I'm going to call him. How you doing, Jonah?
I'm pretty good, man. How about yourself?
We're doing all right, and today we're going to just discuss Carlos Beltran and Alex Cora, who were fired. Carlos Beltran today and Alex Cora back on Tuesday. This is after all the Astros stuff unfolded back on Monday, where you saw Alex Hinch and Jeff Lunau suspended and eventually fired a few minutes later. But in the past couple days, we've seen the two other people mentioned in the memo. Alex Cora, fired Tuesday by the Red Sox and yet to receive a suspension. And then today, Carlos Beltran, who will not receive a suspension, but was still fired. So we'll start with Beltran, just because it happened today. And before we get into opinions, this is the statement the Mets released. We met with Carlos last night, and again this morning, we agreed to mutually part ways. This was not an easy decision, considering the circumstances. It became clear to all parties that it was not in anyone's best interest for Carlos to manage us moving forward. We believe that Carlos was honest and forthcoming with us. We are confident that this will not be the final chapter in his baseball career, and we remain the talent while he'll be back. And then Carlos put out a statement just saying that he's sorry and he's great. He's not who he wants to be as a father, teammate, all that. So right off the bat, John, I'm gonna throw it to you. What were your opinions on Carlos Beltran, and do you think he should be fired or not?
Personally, I do believe he should be fired because he was a part of the scandal. Now, from what I heard, he was one of the guys on the team who actually came up with the idea because it was a player's scheme. So he definitely deserved to be fired. I do not think he'll get a suspension, nor do I believe he deserves one. But he should not be in baseball this year.
So you don't want him to be suspended, but you want him to be fired. I'm just getting a stance. So you want him to be, you don't want him suspended, but you want him to be fired.
Yeah, I believe he definitely should. He definitely deserved to be let go.
Why?
But I feel like why? Because he was definitely a big part of the scandal. He helped make it.
Says who?
He helped start the.
Says who? Who said he was part of the scandal? Big part of the scandal.
I mean, from the sources, like even when the Athletic released their article, it was saying how him and several other players were.
No, I heard. Okay, him and several other players took part here. I had the quote right here. Took part in the sign stealing scandal, whatever you call it. What that's saying is that he didn't start it. Him and 23 other players just took part in it. Why was he mentioned? I don't know. But just because he was mentioned, I don't think he deserves to be fired.
Yeah, that's a fair argument for sure. I mean, why he was mentioned, I'm not sure either. Maybe just because he did get signed to the managing position, but I mean, the other guys are still in the league. Some of them are still playing. So,
right.
I mean, in all fairness, there's no reason that he should get punished and the others shouldn't. But I know the league is saying, or they're saying how they can't really punish the players, but yet Beltran is getting punished. So, at least at minimum with the firing.
Well, here, let me put it this way. All right? I used this analogy with a couple of friends before. You're a Yankee fan, right?
Yes, sir.
So you remember Brian McCann then?
I do.
What if Brian McCann wanted to manage next year? Would he be allowed to? Would you want him to manage next year?
If given that he was on that team, I probably would not. No.
So Brian McCann, Evan Gattis, you wouldn't want them managing ever again. You don't want them in baseball again.
I wouldn't say ever again, but I would say at least give it a few years, let the situation cool down. Because at the end of the day, everything needs to be figured out. People need to figure out who had what role, and I think eventually players are going to start coming clean rather, and people will figure out who deserves to have a role in baseball again. Well, and so players like Gattis and McCann come clean and say what they really did, or if they didn't do anything, then they deserve a role. But it really just all depends on what falls through.
See, I don't know. I don't agree with that because they weren't. I think this is the last of this. You're not going to hear any more of this. Manfred said this is the last we're going to discuss of this until until the Red Sox stuff comes out. So Evan Gattis and Brian McCann, we're just using these two people as a hypothetical. They weren't mentioned. So is Carlos Beltran, just because he was mentioned, is he held to a higher standard just because he was a current manager?
See, I think he definitely was held to a higher standard.
But why? Why?
But
Why? Why is that fair to him? All he did was because he
it's not
accepted a
fair.
role in an organization.
It's definitely not fair to him. He got put in the spotlight, and because he was a manager, he got put in the spotlight. And why that happened, I couldn't really tell you.
Right.
But he got put in that spotlight, and because of that, he took the heat.
Well, let me tell you why I think why. Because I think Manfred wants a clean slate, and I think he wants these guys out of the game. You saw him hint to it in the memo where he said the Astros front office is all screwed up and how it's a disaster. I think he wants
Right.
all these guys out of the game.
Yeah. And you see, I don't want them out of the game forever. I just think that I don't quite know how to word this.
It's all right. Try your best.
So I don't think they should get suspended. Or I don't think they should all get suspended. I think Hinch and Lunhout deserved it. I think Cora 100% deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that if at the minimum there needs to be, for the guys who weren't necessarily mentioned or fully involved, there needs to be cooldown time at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, the way I'm wording it, it sounds wrong. And
no, I think I understand what you're saying, that you think the guys who are out of baseball right now, the retired ones, should take a couple of years off just to see if it would escape them.
Exactly.
I don't know, because I don't this stuff doesn't just go away. I feel like the Mets, if they just kept him and they simply put out a statement saying how Carlos was honest with them and why they love Carlos and how he's going to catch all these players, I think they would have been fine. Sorry, we lost Jonah there. But as I was saying, I feel if the Mets just released a simple statement and reiterated why they like Carlos, I think the media at some point in March, April, at least by May, I think they would have let this stuff go.
See, I feel like the Mets, they're already such a nightmare at times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this could very well, as much as they could have just gone away, this could have also gone the other direction, turned into a PR nightmare for them more than it already is, which I think is a big factor in why they fired Beltran or why they mutually parted ways.
Well, we're gonna get into what Brody did in his press conference today, which like you said was a nightmare. Because I tweeted this out that he looks like it sounds like he was living under a rock. But I also feel like with this Beltran stuff that Brody, Jeff, and Sulcats and everyone in that organization, I feel like they were pressured from the media and other players, and with the firings of Hinch and Cora. I don't think this is all on them, and I'm not. Again, we're both not Mets fans, but if we were both Met fans, would we want these two guys running our teams?
I would not at all right now.
No, and well, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, you can go. Sorry.
I was gonna say I want to go into what Brody did at his press conference, because he started with just giving out a basic timeline of what happened. And what he didn't do, which I find absurd, from the time period of November 12th when the article was released up until today, which is what, January 16th of 2020, he did not talk to Carlos Beltran once about this. Not once. So while he was being investigated, and while this stuff could have happened, he could have fired Beltran on November 15th, 3 days after the article came out. That's what he should have did. If he should have asked Carlos Beltran what role did you play in this scandal, and all of this could have been resolved in the middle of November. Now he's here on January 16th, 3 days after the scandal comes out, scrambling to find a new manager. This could have all been avoided if Brody and Jeff were competent.
100%. And I feel like Brody was just trying to play he was trying to follow the leader here, seeing what the Astros did, seeing what the Red Sox did. I feel like he was 100% just playing follow the leader.
No, I agree 100%. Because even on the Michael K show the other day, Mark Teixeira was calling for Beltran's head too. The two of them definitely they fell into the cave of the media.
100%.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
It's alright. In that role, when you're a GM or an owner of a team, you cannot give it to the media. You have to go with what's best for your organization.
You have to have a stance, and you have to be firm.
Right. You cannot give it to the media. The media is there to take you down. The media is there to try to influence you. You have to be stronger than that. You cannot be that incompetent.
So Luis Rojas is already an early managerial candidate, and Brody said the manager is going to keep the coaching staff But another point that I want to bring up about this, so all Brody and Jeff told Carlos after this thing broke was at the I think it was the general manager's meetings. All he told Carlos was that he had to comply with the league and their investigation. Fine, whatever. Again, there was no dialogue afterwards about what happened in the scandal. It's a mess. Shouldn't have happened. While I was listening to this interview, of course, the of FAN, Evan Roberts had a question, and before Evan Roberts could tear into him, he cut him off. And whatever Roberts was saying, he was saying that before Carlos Beltran was hired, he didn't bring up any of the rumblings that the Astros were stealing signs. I don't know if you remember, but I do. When it was playoff time and when it was regular season time, there were definitely rumblings from around the league and sources that the Astros were cheating somehow.
Oh, I remember 100%.
And to cut them off real quickly right after that one question, they're definitely scared to get asked these questions.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I remember 2017 season, it was like starting to come out that the Astros might be doing something different here, and it wasn't 100% kosher, if you get what I mean by that.
Right.
Like, that there's definitely something funny going on.
I dropped you.
And then there was, like, denying it. And it was just like, I mean, obviously you're going to deny it, but then the fact that they were also smug about it, and the fact that everyone blatantly lied so many times from 2017 until now, it's just like it's just a bad look in general.
It's a bad look for the game, and we saw this extend to Alex Cora, who, according to the memo, looked like the ringleader of all this. So his suspension isn't out yet. The Red Sox did go ahead and fire him, but do you agree with me that he might receive a lifetime ban for all this stuff?
See, a lifetime ban, I personally, I could be biased here. I think he deserves it,
right.
But a lifetime ban is a big ban.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's a hard one to give out. I mean, obviously, there are people who are.
I agree. I mean, I agree. I mean, a lifetime ban. It's the ultimate suspension. So where I stand on this, he started all of it. If he wasn't the one to start all of it and then bring it to a new team and implement it at the new team, yeah, I wasn't a fan of that.
And then also to win 2 World Series with it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
2 different teams.
100%.
You know.
No, it wasn't. Listen, it wasn't a good look at all. Anything else you want to add about Beltran?
Beltran, if he does get suspended, it's gonna be no more than a year. I believe he deserves to be fired, but I think that Beltran, I don't think anything about him is gonna go much further than what's happened today.
No, I agree. And do you think he comes back to baseball anyway?
I think he does. I don't think he gets another managerial position, but I think he could probably end up pulling a special advisor type job, like what CC Sabathia is doing with the Yankees now.
Right. And I do want to comment a little more on Alex Cora as we move away from Beltran now. So Alex Cora was fired on Tuesday, I believe. Yeah, it was Tuesday. And it was very much like the Hinch and Beltran stuff where they mutually parted ways and all that. But yeah, I still think that he's going to receive the biggest suspension out of all of them. I forgot to ask you this. If it's not a lifetime ban, do you still think he should receive the most games suspended?
For sure. And I think that he should get fined. He should be suspended for as long as possible, if not a lifetime ban.
Now, what about him? Do you see him coming back to manage?
Cora doesn't come back from the game. Even if he doesn't get a lifetime ban, he's gonna get blacklisted.
Right, and
there's no way he comes back.
I don't know if you're on Twitter like me. There were a bunch of videos coming out of him hinting at Carlos Beltran how he worked with the Yankees and how the Yankees were stealing songs. Listen, the nerve of him to go ahead and accuse us of that after he did it in 2 separate occasions.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, stealing signs, it's an unwritten rule. You don't do it. But if you're at second base and you see a sign, okay, go for it. You can figure it out. When you start using technology to do it, that's when you cross the line. And that's what Cora did.
You hit it right on the head. It's electronic. I'm fine with stealing signs. I think everyone else is. When you bring in electronics, you can't do that.
100%, brother. You cannot do that.
So now that we have this issue of electronics, what do you see as the resolution to stop this? Do you think they get rid of replay altogether or no more replay rooms near the clubhouse? What do you think about all this?
I think that the league is going to, you know how with steroids, they randomly drug test you. Mm-hmm. I think the league's going to start doing similar things, except they're going to start randomly busting into your clubhouse, looking through everything, making sure there's no hidden rooms, going through the parks and expecting it. Obviously, you can't expect every square inch of a park or
Right.
square foot of a park, but they're going to start definitely looking for that.
Well,
and I think that they're going to get rid of live feed. It's going to be 7-second delay all around. It has to be.
Well, dude, this was the problem I had with the memo that came out originally. That no one was looking at these rooms, which are right outside the dugout. So you let teams set up cameras, like, and we look at Lunau too. Lunau claims he had no idea what was going on, and so did Jim Crane, the owner.
BS.
He didn't go into his own stadium and look into his own clubhouse. He didn't see the big monitor right up to the dugout.
Right, and it's like he didn't see the big room. He didn't see the room. He didn't hear the players talking about it, because there's no way the players were like, hey, there was no way they were keeping it quiet, because everyone on that team knew what was happening.
Everyone.
And when everyone knows on that team, that means that it's going to circulate through the entire franchise. I mean, if Hinch knew, Lunau knew. If Lunau knew, then Crane knew. There's no way that they didn't know.
And at first, I was against the league here, because I don't know what it was. I think it was when I came in here Monday. I was talking about how in 2018 Joe Torre sent out a letter just reiterating that you can't use electronics and all that, and if you were caught, then you were going to see whatever it was. But then after that, right after he sent that out, no one looked at the replay rooms. And this goes beyond Crane, Lunau, and everyone in the Astros front office. If the league was so concerned about it, why didn't they go in and check out the clubhouses? The rooms were left unattended.
No one ever, they either turned a blind eye to it, or they straight up never looked at it.
And they have the nerve to then go ahead and accuse other teams of doing it after the league doesn't know what's going on.
Right. And can I point out something that Hinch said?
Yeah,
earlier this year. Mm-hmm. He said if we knew that whistling was going to make the Yankees mad, if we knew that noises were going to make the Yankees mad, we would have practiced that in spring training. The nerve.
What a guy. What a guy. Seriously. What the nerve? Serious.
And I know he said he didn't condone it, but if you're saying stuff like that, you absolutely cannot get away with this. Like, come on.
I think that's what angered most Yankee fans the most. And you can argue as a Yankee fan, it's been a pretty great offseason with Gerrit Cole being out, and then you're seeing two or three, if you consider them as a rival. I don't really consider them a rival in the league. But you have two of your rivals crumbling at the seams. Plus, you get Gerrit Cole, Jacoby Ellsbury's gone, no more Greg Bird. It was a great offseason for us so far, and it's only mid-January.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a bittersweet feeling, because it's great to see the Astros and the Mets crumble. It's great to see the Red Sox fall, but it's such a bad look on the game, and that's what you hate to see.
Well, that was it. That was my other point too, because as much as you hate the Red Sox and the Astros over the past couple of years, it's a league problem now. And now I compare it to the Black Sox, but not entirely. I don't expect you to know all about the Black Sox. But
I know, dude. I love baseball history. You can ask me
All
anything.
right, cool, good enough. But that was a whole league thing where you lost fans for years, and it took them a long time to get it back. I don't think you're going to lose fans like this. Yeah,
the Black Sox almost killed baseball.
Yeah, and I don't think you lose fans like you did then over this. But you look, if a new fan comes in and this is the first thing they see. This league looks like a wreck compared to everything else to a new fan.
Right. And with baseball being the most technical, people are going to be like, all right, so it's already kind of hard to follow for the new fan. And now there's scandals. Let me go back to basketball or football. It's such a bad look for the game. I can't say that enough.
And you bring in the new fan that wants to watch a game. I heard this. This isn't my thing, but I heard someone say that.
Can I interrupt for a second?
What? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
My dog might start barking, so I do apologize.
Oh, no, don't worry about it. It's all right. But what I was saying was, people might be so concerned about the pace of play, but part of it has to do with changing signs over fears of being caught with the same signs. If it doesn't make sense, let me try and do this. If you have to constantly change signs and go out to the mound and get new signs in every dugout, it's going to take a little bit of time. Now, I'm not the biggest proponent of cutting down the time of games. It's just something I like about it. There's not a lot. What did you say?
I don't mind a long 4 or 5 hour game, dude. I love baseball. I can watch it all day, all night.
Right. No, I agree, and that's not a problem that I have, but to people, I guess it is. Listen, I have my opinions
To the new
on
fan.
those kind of I have my opinions on them kind of screw off if you don't like it, but I can see it being annoying to a new fan that these people have to constantly change signs.
Right.
So,
And
sorry, good.
it's just like if you don't want that to happen, and the league, like I personally hate what Joe Torre's doing to the game.
Right.
But if you don't want that, if you don't want the game to be slowed down by the few seconds that it is, then you have to eliminate the advanced sign stealing.
Well, I don't know.
You cannot let this happen.
I don't know what they're going to do, if it's going to be some type of like NFL style head coaching. I saw the thing with the headset. I don't know if they're going to do that, or I think teams now have gotten to the point where I don't think they want to do this now, because owners don't want to pay $5 million, managers and general managers don't want to get suspended or fired, and these draft picks are important to teams nowadays. So, from a league standpoint, I think they hit it right. I hit the nail on the head with the punishments.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The punishments, personally, I know that lifetime ban is a lot, but I think that Lundhau probably should have gotten a lifetime as well over anyone, except for maybe Cora. But I think if anyone, Lundhau and Cora need to just not come back to the game.
Do you think the draft picks and money thing was too much or too little?
It was, I guess, about right. I think $5 million is the maximum.
That is the yeah. You can't go over $5 million. But they also didn't.
I can't really give an opinion on that then.
Yeah, they also didn't include the international money, which is just going to compensate for draft picks. I was a little disappointed with that, but listen, we'll survive. I think they've suffered enough. But you got anything else you want to add about the Red Sox or anything else really?
I could say this about Cora.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is not his first sign stealing scandal. If we remember the Apple Watch incident from
right.
2017, I believe, or 2018.
And I wonder if this is gonna.
That's nothing to add on to suspension.
I wonder if that loops in with the Red Sox, the new Red Sox scandal with the guys on second base. I wonder if these are all connected and have worked at the same time.
I mean, it really.
Because that was the same year, right? Or was that a year before? That might have been the year before.
I think it was the year before.
So that was Farrell then. That wasn't Cora.
He doesn't play the game clean. He doesn't play it clean.
No, and this is something. There was something about him. If you remember the fight, the infamous fight with Giancarlo Stanton and Aaron Judge up at Fenway with Tyler Austin, when he was screaming at the coaches, like he just didn't seem like a nice guy.
Right. And Cora, and like during the parade, he literally said "suck it." Like he said "suck it" to the Yankee fans. Like you don't call out a fan base like that.
Like, who are you? Who are you?
When you cheat.
Yeah.
Right, like who are you, dude? You cheated 2 years in a row to win. You do not get an opinion.
One more thing before we wrap this up. Should the World Series titles have been stripped from the teams? It's a tough one for me. I go back and forth.
I don't know if they're going to strip it, but it's going to be an asterisk for sure.
Oh, no.
I don't think they're going to strip it, and I don't think they deserve it, but they're not going to.
I feel like if the Red Sox or Astros, one or the other, didn't happen back-to-back years, I think you might have seen it. It would look weird in the history books if, you went 2016 Cubs, then back to 2019. I feel like it would have looked too weird.
Right, and you know what, though? The city of Los Angeles is also suing the league, or they're filing...
Seriously? I didn't see that one. Really?
They're going for their last-ditch effort, man.
Oh, trying everything. They're not going to win. I want them to win so bad. Do you want to plug your Twitter?
Sure. It's at Jewbacca, JEWWBACCAA.
This is a quality Twitter account. Like that.
Can I plug one more thing?
Yeah. Go ahead, do it.
My Twitch, it's the same spelling.
Oh, that's right. He's got a Twitch. Yeah, he's got a Twitch. Make sure you go check that out. It's been fun working with you. I wasn't on my best. Wasn't on my best today, but we'll definitely have you back on at some time. I'm on Twitter, Joe Morales _. This has been the MDM Podcast.